Hello, everyone. This is Grace. It is April the 16th, 2020, and we are continuing our study on the fourth trumpet and the abomination of that causes a desolation. We have established that it is the Sunday law which is set forth to which is going to be established, and it's going to say that if you don't worship on Sunday, then you can be killed. Okay. Ezekiel 8. Ezekiel 8 is another example of how the Sabbath is going to be treated in the last days. We also went over this for our time. I think it's a better fit. I think it has a more perfect application for the 11th hour saints. But since we know there's going to be two sealings, it's perfectly fine. We'll go ahead and take a look at it. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month. I'm going to read through most of this, and then we'll go back and we'll take a look at it. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, on the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord God fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward fire, and from his loins even upward, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of an hand, and took me by a lock of mine head, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looked toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision I had in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thine eyes now the way toward the north. So I lifted up mine eyes the way toward the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary? But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall where I had digged. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping thing, and abominable beast, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Jazaniah the son of Shaphan, with every man a censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chamber of his imagery? For they say, The Lord seeth us not, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. And he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. Let's go back and take a look at what we read. The first abomination was that they set up an idol, an image of jealousy, at the very entrance of the sanctuary. At the very entrance. Now, let's go back. We're going to go back to the commandments. Now, the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make any graven images or in the likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for the Lord thy God am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 34th generations of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. And then, of course, the Sabbath. Okay, so those are the first four commandments about worship. But if I were to read all 10 of them, what you'll find is that most of them just tell you what not to do. You can only really break the two that tell you what to do. And the Sabbath tells you Remember the Sabbath, and then of course the fifth commandment is to worship, is to honor thy father and thy mother. The rest of them, you don't really have to do anything. You just have to not do anything, and you can keep those commandments. However, of course, they take the graven image, they sit it right at the door of the temple so that everyone can see it. They're worshiping idols. They're having other gods before Yahweh. And of course, they're taking the Lord's name in vain, because it's right in his temple. It's right in the temple. And they still claim to be worshiping. They've broken the first 3 commandments already. But it gets worse. He goes in, and the ancients are worshiping idols and praying to the idols, and they've got every form of beast all over the temple, right in his sanctuary. Come on. But that's not the worst. Now you have the women praying to Tammuz. Now, I said this is just the worst for me. No. This just... It's such a profane... Here's my problem with Easter. My problem with Easter was that it was done blatantly. Okay, they didn't even try to hide it. They would get these girls pregnant. 9 months later, they kill the babies, and then just, dye the eggs in blood. Whatever they did, it was gross and it was profane, and there was no shame about it. Let's just do this, and it's right out in the open and celebrate it. It's just, that's what gets me about this. That's why I think it's so horrible. But that's not the worst. They defiled all of the commandments here with these actions, but that's not the worst. They haven't broken the 4th commandment. Let's keep moving. Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. So that wasn't the worst. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped the sun toward the east. Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me with anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I also deal in fury. Mine eyes shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ear with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. The greatest abomination is sun worship. It is Sunday worship. That's what it is. Sun worship is Sunday worship. That is the image that they build to the beast. We know that Satan has to be like God. He said he wants his throne on the north. He wants this, that, and the other. He wants worship like God. But he's the opposite of God. God has good, he has bad. God has love, he has lust. Or selfishness. So Yahweh has his day, which is Saturday. Satan's going to have his day too, which is Sunday. Let's look at another example. Sunday worship, because it's okay. So okay, I marked this. Let's take a look at this. Malachi 4 verse 4. Let's just read the whole thing. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, says the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as cows in the stall. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. Remember ye, this is the part here that pertains to us. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day. Hold on a second, because somehow my marker's gotten off here. Oh, it's because this is short. Okay. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Okay, let's go back up here. It tells you, he's talking about the final days. And what his warning that he gives to you, after he tells you all of this is going to happen, he says, remember ye the law of Moses, my servant. Now the law, when they tell you the law, they're talking about the Ten Commandments. That's what the Bible means. Or that's the common reference when they say the law. They're talking about, remember, he's saying, remember the commandments, basically. But there's only one that starts with remember. Remember the Sabbath day. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servants, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel. And there's only one commandment. Remember what we said about you just cannot do anything? you can just not do anything, and you've kept 8 of the commandments. But there is one commandment that has statutes and judgments. Let's read it again, because it's telling you to remember the law and the statutes and judgments that go along with that law. Let's read it again. I'm going to show you. Remember ye the law of Moses. Let's put it in context here. We'll start with the verse before. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, and or with the statutes and judgments, or with the statutes and judgments, because there's only one law that has statutes and judgments with it. I'm hoping I don't have to go back and read it to you. I'm going to have to go back and read it to you. Yeah, we got to take a look at it again. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Okay, whatever. So we're not going to read all of it. But you see, it starts with remember. And we do know that there are statutes and judgments. It's in Leviticus as well. Okay. What else did I put in here? Okay, she said no. Off with the woman. Oh, I put that in there. I can't remember why I put a lot of this stuff in here. So let me just pause you for a moment and think about it. Give me just a moment. Okay, so we're going to go to Daniel 8, and we're going to look at the verses that speak about Abomination of Desolation, and we're going to see that it fits just for ourselves here. And okay, let's just let's just get to a stopping point here. Hold on. Okay, the scripture I was looking at was verse 13, but we're going to quickly just recap that. These are the actions that cause the abomination of desolation. And then here it says, then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, how long should be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, or the taking away of the truth, or the Sabbath, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot. So, hold on. To give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot. So, the transgression, the daily sacrifice, I'm sorry, I was thinking. The daily sacrifice, of course, being the concerning the Sabbath, and the transgression of desolation being the law. And that is going to say, that is those being the law, to give both the sanctuary which and the host to be trodden underfoot, is the defiling of the law and the sanctuary. And the Sabbath. Okay. So let's look at the other instances real quick. Desolation. It is in verse 9. Now, hold on. 9:17 is the first one. When we look at the first church that became desolate, what happened was they rejected the truth. They rejected Yahushua and the truth, and then the church became desolate. He said, behold, I leave to you. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Okay, well, let's just look it up. Okay. And desolate. We'll just have to do it the long way, because I can't think of the exact wording. Here we go. Luke 13 is one. O Jerusalem, O Jerusalem. Oh, it's two separate verses. That's why I couldn't find it. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, which killest the prophets and stonest them that are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children together, as a hen doth gather her brood under her wings, and you would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. And verily I say unto you, you shall not see me until the time come when ye shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. And they're going to be raised back from the dead. So we already know that. So it was the rejecting of the truth. Let me just let you know something now. It's really the blocking of the truth. That's what it is. It's the blocking of the truth. The wicked have a choice. They can choose to serve Yahweh, or they can choose to serve another God. Yahweh is perfectly fine with that. He has given them that choice. The problems always happen. The problems always come about when some new truth gets introduced into the church. And what do the wicked have to do? Automatically, they start blocking the truth. They start blocking the truth. That's why I put that scripture in there. Now I remember. Here we go. And the Pharisees heard it, and they said, "This fellow does not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of the devils." And Jesus knew their thoughts and said unto them, "Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand." Whenever the wicked hear some new truth, they instantly go about blocking it. They just can't they cannot allow those that want to be saved and worship Yahweh in peace. That's why you see so much put on the prophets and the pastors, because it's their job to teach the truth, to allow people to make a decision. Instead, they're constantly blocking the truth. Instead, they're up on the stands lying, saturating the earth with lies and deception, so that nobody would know the truth, to make it clear, to make a decision for right, without having at some point been introduced to a lie. We have to unlearn lie after lie after lie after lie after lie in order to finally get a concept of the truth. And by then, some people just don't care anymore. So anyway, that was the first example. They constantly block the truth, and that is what leads to the desolation. That's why the Lord has to intervene. Otherwise, he could just let things play out. But he has to constantly intervene for his people. Anyway. "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate." So for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. I think there's one more mention in, there's actually two. Daniel 11:31. This is the final king. "And arms shall stand on his part, armies, the law, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate." They are going to place a law in the church that causes desolation. And it's not just going to be one of the laws that they've already got. It is a law that has a penalty of death. We saw that in Revelation 13. Because the Lord is not going to intervene. He would let things play out if they didn't constantly have to block the truth. They just constantly have to block the truth. Come on. It's not going to be, by the way, it's not going to be where they just say, if you don't worship on Sunday, we're going to kill off all the saints. No. They want the saints to come around. Satan don't want to kill. He don't want to kill anybody. He don't want anybody to be saved. But he's not trying to kill you. He might make a martyr of you. You might die and be saved. No, he don't want you dead. No, he has to kill people only as a last resort. And he only has to kill them so that nobody else will catch on. But I'm going to tell you, the way it happens, we should have went to Daniel. We might go there. We might go to Daniel 6 and look. The way that it happens here is, it's like in the book of Esther. And in the book of Esther, you had Mortimer, who refused to bow down to, I think his name was Hadar, I think his name was. He refused to bow down to Hadar, but everybody else bowed down to him when they saw him. So every single time he saw Mortimer standing at the gate doing whatever he was doing, he would just get enraged inside. He would just get so mad. It was a constant reminder to him, So that's the way it's going to be in the last days. Those that are doing right are going to be a constant reminder to those that are doing wrong, and they're going to grow to hate them. So, you can see a picture of it in Esther. You can also see a picture of it. And I've always believed that 3 was our time, and then 4 was the trumpets, and then you have 5, which was the desolation of the church, and then chapter 6, which was last day saints. But more and more I'm starting to think that 3 through 6 is all our church, the best, because I keep finding dual prophecies. I think that 6, the primary prophecy is pertaining to our time, but it does have the death penalty in it. But the best example of last day events is the book of Esther, where they make a law and say, on this particular day, you could start killing up the people. You can start killing them up, free for all. And the Lord is going to have to intervene. And he intervenes in chapter 12. Did we read this? An arm shall stand on its part, the army, because it's going to be a law that is whatever. And they shall pollute the sanctuary strength and take away the daily sacrifice, and shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. So let's look at 12. That's the last verse. And it is 11. I don't think we need this one. And from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there should be 1,290 days. So, there ain't a whole lot to say about that. From the time that the daily sacrifice, the truth, or the Sabbath shall be taken away, and the law is set up, there shall be 1,290 days, depending upon how you look at it or how you interpret it. Okay, so the abomination that causes desolation. We looked at a lot of circumstantial evidence. We'll go ahead just real quick and look at the death penalty that's given in Daniel 6. We'll just read through it real quick. But again, I think that the best example is Esther. But let's just do this real quick. It pleased Darius. Remember, this is probably for our time. I think that you have the perfect and the imperfect explanations for these scriptures that have dual prophecies. And I think that the more perfect application is during our times. Not to say that, but I do think that it can be used as an example for the 11th hour as well. So we'll read through it. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 123 princes, which stood over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the prince might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was preferred among the presidents to princes, because an excellent spirit was found in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents to princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault. For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. So he was perfect. And you see the same thing with Hagar. Mordecai is at the gate. Mordecai is doing good. He helped the king. He saved the king. He's helping the kingdom. He's doing everything right. So it's hard to find anything against Mordecai in order to turn the king against him. But he did in his faith. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of God. Then these presidents, the princes, assembled together to the king and said thus unto the king, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdoms, the governor and the princes, the counselors and the captains, have consulted together to establish a royal statute, and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. Now, it's similar. I can't remember the exact reason for the decree, but I'm pretty sure that Hadar, whatever his name was, convinced the king that it was against him in some way, even though the king liked, he liked his wife, which was Esther, and he liked Mordecai. And it's the same here. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Darius knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. So they knew he was going to keep doing it. They knew he was going to keep follow the law of God. And so they just went there and said, hey, let's go check. so they could travel. Then these men assembled, and that's the way it's going to be in the last days. It's not going to be good enough for us to keep Sunday. We're going to have to break. We're going to have to not worship God. We're going to have to not keep the Sabbath. And that's what's being established here. You cannot worship your God. I was reading something about, I can't remember. Never mind. I think it's in this one, actually. I think when we get down to the bottom, I don't know what I was going to say. Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem. He kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? And the king answered and said, the thing is true according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, which he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Remember what it says. Remember prophetically what going down of the sun means. And that is the close of probation. He labored until nighttime to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and the Persians is that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. It was the same in Esther. He couldn't change it. And the king commanded, and the only thing that he was able to do was to allow them to defend themselves in Esther. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of the Lord's, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. So he went into the lion's den. And the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste into the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said, Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God has sent his angel and has shut the lions' mouths, and they have not hurt me, for as much as before him innocency was found in me. And also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. So, as I said before, Yahweh has to intervene constantly to allow his people to worship him. So we'll continue. Then was the king exceedingly glad for him, and commanded that they should take up Daniel out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lion had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, or ever they came to the bottom of the den. Nobody is going to be saved or lost alone. We're going to have friends. If you're saved, you're going to know somebody there. If you're lost, you're going to have people around you that you know as well. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, tongues, and languages that dwell on the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. This is the part that Sister White said was wrong. Because they're still making decrees on how to worship. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and steadfast forever. And his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonder in heaven and in earth. Who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions? So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus of Persia. So even after he made the decree saying you had to worship one way, he didn't learn the lesson. He turned around and he made another decree saying that you have to worship Yahweh, which was still wrong, but it was a lot less wrong than the first one. Anyway, we're at 34 minutes. I think I've said enough. I think it's pretty clear that, and I think there's enough examples in the Bible to show that, for me personally, this is enough. The fact that the very first loud cry is one, that the judgment is coming, and you are to worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea, which is an exact quote from the fourth commandment. Because that's what the loud cries are. That's what they're about. So, but I think that we've gone over a lot, which shows how important it is, and that the abomination that causes desolation is the decree to worship on another day other than the actual Sabbath. So, if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below, and I will do my best to answer them. All right, we'll leave it at that. Yahweh bless.